So, Berto, the Oscars are coming up soon, so I thought we would talk about the movies that are nominated for the Oscars. What do you say, Berto?
I haven't seen most of them.
Oh, I have seen all of them.
Oh, God.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a professor and a therapist.
My name is Humberto Castañeda. I review movies that I have not yet seen.
So, first off, we're going to try not to spoil any of these movies.
Good.
Berto can't because he hasn't seen it, but there's really no point in spoiling the movies. That we often will spoil the things we talk about because we want to get into it, but I'm not going to do that this time.
I've seen La La Land.
Okay.
That one's nominated, right?
Yeah. Well, let's go in alphabetical order for Best Picture Oscars. First one, Arrival.
I've seen Arrival.
Okay. What'd you think?
I loved it.
Out of 10 stars, what would you give it?
I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 9, which is pretty rare for me, which means I really, really liked it. It was actually in my top 6 movies of 2016, along with Moonlight, Deadpool, Midnight Special, Rogue One, and OJ Made in America, which, is a documentary. Mm-hmm. 9 out of 10, really liked it. What'd you like about it, Berto?
Okay, so the style of sci-fi was really cool because it was more along the lines of Alien, the first Alien, in that we get a sense of the alienness, but not like the overt, cheesy, and so we get we kind of see the aliens, and also it really did feel foreign, not from here.
Right.
It was weird, goopy, writing style was totally different. Well, except if you think of Chinese characters and stuff, but still it was very different. And and also their goals were not the usual goals, there was also kind of a neat twist to the whole story. The acting was great for the most part. And it, even though it was sort of, it wasn't a fast moving movie, but it also didn't I don't feel like there was really wasted parts of the movie. So I felt like it was a good pace.
Yeah. There were no, some spoilers. There's no lasers in the movie. I agree with everything you were saying, Berto, and along those lines, no lasers. It was focused on a woman character, which, is refreshing.
Who was not nominated?
Who was not nominated, who should have been nominated.
Yeah, should have been.
She carried the entire movie.
Yeah.
I liked how the movie, in a convincing way, pointed to how humans tend to react in stupid, aggressive ways, but not in they didn't show it in the quintessential stupid way. Like a general pounding his fist. It was more subtle than that. To me, it's like the thinking person's sci-fi movie. It's very cerebral. I was totally on the edge of my seat, even though there was no, fight sequence or anything. And then that ending sequence. So I'm on the edge of my seat the entire time. I'm just like, oh my God, what's happening? And I could just feel the tension. And then we have these flashbacks kind of things. And then the ending sequence, it was like M. Night Shyamalan at the end. When M. Night was great,
Yeah.
And everything starts coming around, and it's all the music is swelling, it was very kind of Christopher Nolan-y music,
That's right.
And they're dipping in and out of time and everything is swirling around. And I'm just
yeah.
My brain was just being blown, it was
cool.
And it was just on the edge of my comprehension, which is the best sort of movie you can make is you don't want it to be so confusing you don't get it, but you don't want to be so obvious that you see it a mile ahead of time.
Yeah.
You want it to be just on the edge of your comprehension where you're getting it basically, but there's still a bit of mystery there, what I mean?
Yep.
Or you don't get it right away. It takes you a couple of seconds to get it. Having said all that, there were a couple lines in the movie that were really cheesy that I won't spoil, but there's a couple lines toward the end in particular where it was oh my God.
I think I know one of them, but I didn't have as big a problem with it.
I was like, what a bad line. Who wrote that? I think people in the theater even kind of laughed, even though it was this super intense moment. IMDb gave it 8.1, which is based on, users.
Was one of your lines about birds and bees?
I don't remember.
Okay. I mean, I'm saying that symbolically.
Rotten Tomato, yes, I think so.
Okay.
In fact, I think I've blocked the actual line, but I think it did have to do with that. Rotten Tomatoes, 94%.
Yeah.
It was budgeted at $47 million, cost $47 million, and box office about 4 times that.
Wow.
Directed by Dennis Villeneuve, or I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's French-Canadian.
Oh, Villeneuve. Okay.
He's made Prisoners, which is one of my favorite movies.
I finally watched after we talked about it several times.
Did you love it?
Oh, yeah. It was really good.
He made Enemy. You haven't seen Enemy yet.
I have not seen Enemy.
That is a very strange movie.
And I still haven't seen Sicario, although now I own it, so I can watch it.
Yeah, Sicario is just amazing. And Arrival. And this year, he is releasing his next movie. Do you know what it is? I mean, you've seen previews.
Is it Sicario 2?
No, it's Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah, right. I forgot about that.
And he's working on another project, Dune.
He's going to do Dune?
Yeah.
What?
He's going to direct Dune.
No way.
That's going to be amazing.
Is it, though?
Yeah. This guy can't go wrong, man. Prisoners, Enemy,
maybe
Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner. I mean...
Well, he hasn't done Blade Runner yet. We'll see.
It looks good from the previews.
Okay, all right.
Produced by Sean Levy, who also did Night in the Museum, Date Night, Real Steel, The Watch, Spectacular Now, which is a great movie, The Internship, which is, it's okay. This Is Where I Leave You, which is a great sort of comedy family movie, Arrival. And he is producing a reboot of Starman. Do you remember Starman?
Starman, yes. Yeah. Wait, is that a TV reboot?
No, it's a movie.
A
Starman, was a movie with Jeff Bridges.
But they made a TV show too, remember?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Gross.
They totally did. It was the same plot but different actor.
Was it like, and hijinks ensue?
Basically, yeah.
Screenplay by Eric Heiserer, who also wrote a reboot of A Nightmare on Elm Street, who also wrote Final Destination 5, who also wrote a reboot of The Thing. So this screenplay writer was writing some pretty shit movies.
Well, no, the Thing wasn't bad.
The reboot of The Thing?
I think that was good, right?
I didn't watch it because I love the original so much.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't watch it either, but I heard it was okay.
Okay.
I heard it was good, actually.
Yeah. Who'd you hear that from?
People that, I don't know. Maybe I'm confused.
Stars Amy Adams. The first movie I remember her in was Junebug. She's also Talladega Nights, Tenacious D, and The Pick of Destiny.
Yeah.
I think she's just a minor character in that. Enchanted, I remember her from that.
Yep.
Charlie Wilson's War. Sunshine Cleaning, she's star of that. Doubt, she's one of the sisters in that. Night at the Museum. The Fighter, she's the bartendress.
Oh, yeah.
The Muppet movie, Muppets.
Yep.
The Master. You remember The Master?
Yes. I forgot she was in that.
Man of Steel, she plays Lois Lane.
Yeah,
She's the new Lois Lane, right, in the new movie.
Martha's his mom.
I don't remember her in Her.
Isn't she the friend?
Maybe. Yeah, is it her and Chris Pratt, maybe? American Hustle, big movie. She had a big part in that. Batman v Superman. Arrival, Nocturnal Animals, which is another great movie from last year, and she'll be Lois Lane in all the next movies. Jeremy Renner was co-star in Arrival. The first movie he was in that I didn't see, he plays Jeffrey Dahmer in a movie about Jeffrey Dahmer.
I saw that, actually. I saw that on video.
He was in SWAT, North Country. He was a bad person in North Country. He was in The Assassination of Jesse James, which you have not seen yet. Which is amazing. That. He's in 28 Weeks Later, and then The Hurt Locker. That's the first movie I really remember.
I saw him in that too. Yeah.
The Town, which he's amazing in.
Yep.
Mission Impossible.
Yep.
The Avengers. Born Legacy. Hansel and Gretel, which I never saw because it got terrible
I didn't
reviews.
see it.
American Hustle. Age of Ultron. Mission Impossible. Captain America. And then
Wait, he's been in 2 Mission Impossibles?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
Ghost Protocol and Rogue Nation.
Wait a minute, but wasn't he also in a Born?
Yeah, Born Legacy.
Oh, okay, that's why I'm confused. Okay.
Yeah. Forrest Whitaker is also in Arrival. The first movie he was in that you can remember is, do you know?
This is the day on the Crying Game.
No, Fast Times, Ridgemont High.
Crying Game. He was in Fast Times?
Yeah, he was like a badass football player.
I don't remember that because the first time I remember him is in the Crying Game.
He also played a guy named Balldozer in Vision Quest. He was in The Color of Money, Platoon, Stakeout, Good Morning Vietnam, Bird, in which he plays Charlie Parker, Bloodsport with Van Damme, and then The Crying Game.
Wait a minute. So he went unnoticed by me in all those other movies?
Yeah.
Until The Crying Game.
Yeah.
Because like in Bloodsport, one of my favorite movies, what was he?
I don't know.
And in Color of Money?
Yeah. I think he's a minor part.
Oh my God.
Smoke, Ghost Dog, which is a great movie. Battlefield Earth, which I never saw.
I saw that just as a lark.
Panic Room, Phone Booth. Do you remember Phone
Yep.
Booth? The Last King of Scotland. He plays Idi Amin.
Really?
He got a lot of awards for that. Where the Wild Things Are. He's one of the voices. Fruitvale Station. He's actually a producer of that. Lee Daniels, The Butler. Can you explain to me why this is not just called The Butler? Why is it called Lee Daniels?
I don't know. I don't know who Lee Daniels is or who The Butler is.
Out of the Furnace, which is an amazing movie. Taken 3.
Which is a movie.
Yeah. He's in Dope, which was last year. He's the narrator. Arrival. Rogue One. He's apparently filming a Labyrinth reboot.
Really?
And a Black Panther movie.
Now, Rogue One, he would have been a lot more in that movie if the original cut might have made it. Huh?
Yeah. There's a lot of interesting speculation about the original cut based on the original previews. All right, next movie, Fences. I saw this last night. Have you seen it? Denzel Washington?
No, I know what you're talking about. It's the his kid wants to do baseball or is a baseball player.
Yeah, it's so much more than that. That's what I thought the movie was going to be. It's like, oh, it's about a father and a son who fight all the time. The movie is so much more than that.
Really?
Oh yeah. I gave it 8 out of 10, which is again pretty rare for me. Typically when I like a movie, I'll give it a 7. I'll just be like, that was a good movie. 7. Totally.
So you really liked it.
I'll maybe rewatch it, yeah. But Fences, I'd almost give it a 9 given the limitations that Denzel Washington, because it's a play, you know?
Damn it. So I almost watched a movie last night and I was looking at what was part of the problem, part of the reason I haven't seen any of the Oscar movies. I haven't had a lot of time. And when I was gonna go see it, I looked at the movies that were playing and I was like, Arrival, I've seen that. And then I was like, Fences, and I didn't even remember that was nominated.
Yeah.
I could have watched it.
It's like an American Shakespeare movie, but without the drama. It's like wall-to-wall talking.
It looked like a Death of a Salesman, sort of.
Right. It's like it's in that vein. But it's an American classic. I mean, this movie, it's like our modern day Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Wow.
You know, you've seen that.
Yeah.
You like that movie.
With Elizabeth Taylor and Sir Richard. Richard.
Goddamn, Richard.
Richard.
And the acting involved in that movie, Burton,
yeah.
And the wall-to-wall talking and how there's no action.
Right.
This is the same. There's no action, very little action. There's like a tiny bit of action, but it's mainly people talking. But it's not boring, and it's 2.5 hours long, and it's just. I was the only one in the theater, by the way, and which is kind of freaky when you kind of think about it. You know, it's like late at night,
freaky,
like midnight. But anyway, I was totally in this movie. Denzel Washington is amazing. It's probably one of the best acting jobs of the past. Well, he's amazing in a lot of things, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's his best performance of all. It might be one of the best performances of our age. I mean,
really?
Yeah. Okay. So he plays basically the movie is all about his character.
Okay.
It's a play, by the way.
And it's in like the 30s?
In Pittsburgh, 50s. It's 50s. In the 50s. And the whole movie is about his character. And the amount of character development that goes on in this movie, if the action movies could have 0.1% of the character development in this movie, they would be awesome movies. You know what I mean? So basically, his character is you love him and you hate him. But really, those words don't even really it's almost like at the end of the movie, I felt like Denzel Washington's character was a member of my family. Do you know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I knew him so well
Right.
and had such a complicated relationship with this guy that it felt like family, because
Right.
like, well, honestly, you and me, we talked about this before about, in the beginning of our relationship, it was all fun and games, and we had, we never had a fight, and
Right.
and we could protect each other from our sharp edges and just have good times. But the more we got involved, the more we started experiencing each other's sharp edges, and the more we start experiencing conflict, and like almost, to the point of never talking to each other again. But then you come back together, and so you have a full, well-rounded vibe, lived experience of each other, you and me.
And she felt like this experience
With Denzel Washington, because in some ways I loved him, and in some ways I hated him. But I also understood where he came from. You know what I mean? I understand, like, when he was being a jerk, I understood, where it was coming from. There was a justification, but at the same time, it was like you could see how other people would react badly to that.
So this is your way to tell me you're cheating on me with Denzel.
Yeah. So I thought it was really good. 7.5 IMDb, 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, budgeted at $24 million, which is sort of surprising to me that it would cost that much money to make such a seemingly low budget.
Is it just because of his paycheck, maybe? Are there other big stars?
Viola Davis. But really, there's only like 5 or 6 actors in this entire movie, and they 95% of the time, 98% of the time, they're just in this house. They're in the backyard almost the entire.
Because you said it's a play, so they
right. So
Okay.
so I get the feeling like the Broadway play. It was all took place in the backyard of this house, and the fences. It refers to building a fence in the backyard. But yeah, it's amazing. So getting into it, budgeted $24 million, box office about $50 million, directed by Denzel Washington, by the way.
Oh, it was directed by him.
Yeah, Denzel, born in Mount Vernon, New York. His father was a ordained Pentecostal minister. His mother was a beauty parlor owner. This is his third directorship. The movies that I remember. What's the first movie you remember him from?
That I remember seeing Denzel in.
89.
Oh man, I don't know if I saw it.
It was his breakout role, man. Glory.
I never saw Glory.
What?
I know.
That was one of the best movies of that time. I mean,
Doesn't
today
it have Matthew Broderick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it has Denzel. I mean,
and it's a Civil War movie.
Yeah, it's about a black regiment.
I might have eventually watched it, but I have a feeling like I've never watched all of it.
And it's a true story too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's pretty amazing. Mo Better Blues.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I finally did watch Glory. The one I've never watched still is Platoon.
Oh, you've never seen Platoon?
Should I not be confessing these things on air?
God, what's wrong with you?
Well, I remember, listen, in all the 80s, all the way until 90, the only access I had to movies were either a very big
Alberto,
movie release.
There's this thing called
The internet.
Netflix now and the internet right now. I don't know. It's been around for a while.
Too busy, man. Too busy.
Man. Mo Better Blues, Spike Lee, Mississippi Masala, Malcolm X, which is amazing. Much Ado About Nothing, The Pelican Brief, Philadelphia, Crimson Tide, Virtuosity. These are just the movies that I know that he's done. it. Devil in a Blue Dress, He Got Game, another Spike Lee movie, The Bone Collector, Remember the Titans.
So I just rewatched He Got Game, by the way.
Yeah.
You
like it?
I remembered it a lot more fondly than it's not a very well cut movie, actually.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of sloppy, in fact. He does an amazing job.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I rewatched the 25th Hour or whatever, the one with Edward Norton, the Spike Lee movie.
Yeah.
And I feel like Spike Lee, all his movies don't really hold up over time because I remember really liking it at first.
Right.
And I think at the time it was so innovative and so fantastic and just so original
Yeah.
that for the time, it was amazing work.
Yeah.
But I think there's some rough edges to his creations, you know.
Whereas, like, for me, Training Day is one of my favorites.
I hate Training Day.
You hate Training Day? Oh, man.
I like the first half. I'm tolerant of the first half. But the last, like, the final scene.
Oh, I love this.
It's so cheesy. It's so unrealistic and so melodramatic. And it's just like, and just the whole premise of, like, he's this tough guy cop and he's just like a super asshole and, you know, he plays by his own rules.
Yeah, we don't see that at all, do we?
Well, it's so cliche, you know what I mean?
But it's real. I mean, it's okay. It's exaggerated. I'll give you that. But oh my God, I know.
Everyone loves this movie. Antoine Fuqua or whatever made this movie. You know, I'm definitely in the minority here. But I tried to like this movie, and I was like, "Come on!"
Did that same guy? Is he the one that did Falling Down?
I don't know,
because to me it always felt similar. In that.
Other Denzel, Antoine Fisher, Man on Fire, Manchurian Candidate, Inside Man. I think that Spike Lee movie is the cleanest movie.
Is Inside Man the smoking one?
No, that's the one where he is a bank robber. I think it's Clive Owen.
I don't think I saw.
Pretty sure. American Gangster, Ridley Scott, amazing movie. American Gangster.
Right.
The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, which I didn't like. That's a remake of the movie. The Book of Eli, which I sort of liked. And
Man, I'm realizing I haven't seen a lot of Denzel movies.
Unstoppable, which I liked and didn't like. Safe House, which was silly. Flight, which was amazing. Flight, the one where it's like he plays an alcoholic.
Okay. So that was a good movie?
Amazing.
Okay.
The Equalizer, 2014, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Is that a remake of the TV show?
I don't know, but he's basically like he's a killer, or I don't know. I think he's like a janitor who used to be a killer who like gets in a situation where he has to kill people again. It's so dumb. It's like the dumbest of all time. The Magnificent Seven, which was last year.
How was that?
That was another
I heard
Fuqua.
mixed.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original Japanese Seven Samurai.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into it going like, are they going to really ruin my life with this movie?
But there was a Western Magnificent Seven too, right?
There was called Magnificent Seven, which was okay. But this remake, I thought it was fun. You know, it was entertaining. But it was also like a lot of unrealistic shooting. You know, it's like the good guys would just go bang, 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 and every time every bang, a bad guy would drop.
I see.
Bang, no reloading, bang, bang, dead guy, dead guy, dead guy, dead guy, dead guy, dead guy, dead guy. And it's like, are they hitting everyone in the head or the heart? Because like if you actually, I mean, just YouTube or live leak shootings.
Yeah.
Almost 95% of the time you shoot someone, you don't get a shot to drop them. You know what I mean? The shot will go in their leg or their stomach or even their lung.
But when I play Call of Duty, I get a lot of headshots.
Right. And then also Fences, of course. Okay, produced by Todd Black and Scott Rudin. Scott Rudin, I looked up this producer's list of movies. Listen to this list. Flatliners.
Oh.
Regarding Henry, The Addams Family, The Firm,
Woo.
Searching for Bobby Fischer,
Jeez.
Clueless, In and Out, The Truman Show, South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, Sleepy Hollow, Rules of Engagement, Shaft, Zoolander, The Royal Tannenbaums, School of Rock, The Stepford Wives. These are just the movies that I know.
That's crazy.
The Manchurian Candidate, The Village, I Heart Huckabees, Team America.
He's a producer on all
this? Closer, The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, No Country for Old Men, The Darjeeling Limited, There Will Be Blood, The Other Boleyn Girl, Doubt, Revolutionary Road, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Greenberg, The Way Back, The Social Network, True Grit, Moneyball, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Moonrise Kingdom, Captain Phillips, Inside Llewyn Davis, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Top 5 with Chris Rock, Ex Machina, Aloha, Steve Jobs the movie, Zoolander 2, and Fences.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine producing? And that's just the movies I recognize. So that's pretty amazing.
That's incredible.
The screenplay was by August Wilson, who is the writer of the original play. And a lot of people have been trying to make this movie over the years, but he refused to let a non-black person direct it. And so Denzel was actually in a stage production of this 7 years ago.
Oh, really?
Him and Viola Davis actually got Tony Awards for this. And so, at some point, Denzel decided to. Denzel took a big risk with this movie, actually, because it's a play that takes place basically in the backyard of this house.
Yeah.
And it's all talking and there's no action. And the lead character is a jerk some of the time. Or maybe even most of the time. And he's going to act and direct in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just said that pitch to someone, they'd be like, that's not going to work.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's a disaster. No one wants to see a play on TV. And Denzel, we want a likable character. We don't want a jerk. And you're just going to do the play on the screen, So he took a huge risk and, man, just nailed it. Viola Davis is his co-star. She's really good in it, but Denzel steals the show. And Viola Davis has this one scene where she's getting really emotional and really, earning her paycheck on that. And I couldn't watch it. It was amazing acting, but I couldn't watch it because she was crying in real life and she had a bunch of snot coming out of her nose. And she had a kitchen towel in her hand.
She could have used it.
And all I kept thinking was, wipe your nose. But I had to put my hand up because do you get grossed out by that kind of stuff?
I don't know. I mean, maybe, but not quite as much, maybe.
Man, but just think of just like a lot of snot, like all over her upper lip and kind of like smeared to the right, just like shiny with like...
See, like, I guess from my perspective, I certainly would have to be like, hold on, because I need to blow my nose. But we're not done with this argument.
Right. Yeah, so it was ruined by that. And actually, when movies do that, I just think, oh, just wipe your nose. And what I think is what's happening is the director is like, we're getting gold here. And she has a lot of snot on her nose, which even kind of makes it even more real. If I was right next to the director, I would say, hey, just have her wipe her nose. Viola Davis, she was in Traffic, Antoine Fisher, Solaris, which I don't remember her being in, Syriana, World Trade Center, the one with Nicolas Cage, Doubt, Medea Goes to Jail, which I've never seen any of those movies, Night and Day, Eat, Pray, Love, The Help, that was her, I think, Outbreak.
Her big role.
Outbreak?
Breakout.
That's
her big outbreak.
Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Ender's Game, Prisoners, Black Hat, which I never saw, Suicide Squad, and Fences. Okay.
Wait, was she the gal that recruits everyone in Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about the other movies, but let's take a break first. What do you say?
Yep.
All right, we're back. If you haven't become a patron yet, please do so by going to patreon.com. Come on, people. We need another, a couple hundred more patrons to get us to the next goal where we can start donating to petfinder.com.
You can do it.
Part of your pledge will go toward petfinder.com, which is their mission is to save pets from being euthanized and to find loving homes for them. I have found my cats through petfinder.com. And they would have been euthanized if I hadn't gone through petfinder.com. So come on, people. If you haven't become a patron yet, go to patreon.com.
Help some pets.
Woof, woof. Or just go to petfinder.com and donate, whichever you want. Or both. Do both. All right. Okay, we talked about Fences and Arrival. Let's talk about Hacksaw Ridge. Have you seen that one?
That's the war movie. No, I have not. I didn't really want to watch it because I saw the preview and I was like, I don't get it. Like, he doesn't want to go to war. Then he's like a medic or something, and then he's like saving people. It looked like almost like Forrest Gump or something. But
yeah, it's you pretty much nailed it. And that's the whole movie. It's a true story.
Okay,
apparently. I gave it a 6 out of 10, which means that it's watchable. It's not terrible. but it's not great. You know, it's watchable. You know, if you don't have other things to watch like these other movies, then watch it. It's
but it's based on a real story.
It's based on a real story, which I like. I like historical dramas, so you know, I always like to see what it would have looked like, what it would have been like, and you know, I think they depicted it.
Like he didn't want to shoot a weapon or something.
Yeah, it was against his religion. He was a conscientious objector. But what people would do back then, if you were a conscientious objector, is you would like not be in the military at all.
Right.
But he also wanted to serve.
Yeah.
He like volunteered or something. He wanted to serve, but he just didn't want to be.
I see.
He refused to actually shoot a weapon. And so the first half of the movie is he's in, you know, training, and he's just getting, you know,
yelled at constantly,
and hazed and everything. But then once they are in France fighting, he is a medic by that point, and he saves a bunch of people's lives by sacrificing his safety. You know,
that's sort of why I wasn't interested in seeing it. Not because it doesn't sound like a noble story, but because the preview sort of like spelled it out for me.
Yeah, it's kind of boring at part, and it's highly predictable. I mean, what you think the movie is what it is. Yeah. And if you gave like a 15-year-old that broad stroke and said write this script, they would basically write this script.
So he's actually a predator, and Arnold shows up.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cheesy at times. I mean, even though it's probably what happened, I'm just saying that the reality was pretty cheesy.
I see.
Yeah. But I am so surprised this was nominated, especially because Mel Gibson directed this. But
Mel Gibson.
But even if he didn't direct it, I do not understand why this movie is nominated.
Okay.
I think it's like they got to throw a bone to Middle America or something, you know, because all these other movies are like pretty heady, you know, or not heady, but pretty.
But you would think there would be lots of shooting then. I guess there is lots of.
Oh yeah, the second half of the movie, there's a shit ton of shooting and explosions and like limbs falling off, and like, you know, there's a lot of that, but it's not Best Picture material, and it's no Saving Private Ryan.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is like a far cry from that. I mean, there were some times when it felt like an after-school special. You know what I mean? Like the sort of thing you would see, like, you know, that it didn't feel like a big movie. You know, it felt like a TV movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? Anyway. 8.3 IMDb, 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is the lowest Rotten Tomatoes for the Best Picture. Budgeted $40 million, which is so weird because that's like just a little bit more than Fences. This movie just has a ton of people, and
maybe that's why it felt like a after-school special sometimes.
Box office, $160 million, directed by Mel Gibson. What's the first Mel Gibson movie, Berto? That we know about?
The first one I remember was Mad Max.
Yeah, Mad Max, 1979, and then you got Mad Max 2, 81. Gallipoli. Do you remember Gallipoli?
No.
It's a pretty good movie. Then Mad Max. There's other movies in there, but Mad Max, Thunderdome. Then Lethal Weapon, Tequila Sunrise.
I love Lethal Weapon.
Yeah. I remember liking Tequila Sunrise when I was a kid.
Yeah, I saw it too. I liked it.
Lethal Weapon 2, Bird on a Wire, Air America, Hamlet. Do you remember him making a Hamlet?
Yes.
I think he plays Hamlet. Lethal Weapon 3, Maverick, which was the
remake of the old Western
with Garner.
Show.
Braveheart, which he also directed.
I liked Maverick. I think I liked Maverick.
Yeah. Did you like Braveheart?
Oh yeah, Braveheart I loved. Yeah. I mean, that's a classic.
I need to rewatch that to see if I would like it again. But I remember, man, we loved that movie.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
It won Academy Award for Best Director, Best Picture. So that's when when Braveheart comes out. That's when Mel Gibson really became like, oh my God, he's not just this crazy Lethal Weapon guy. He's like a smart guy who can direct.
But they'll never take our freedom.
Lethal Weapon 4, which I can't imagine how bad that was.
Isn't that with Jet Li?
I don't know. The Patriot. Have you seen this movie?
I think so.
It is one of the dumbest movies of all time.
Remind me
It's about I think it's the build up to the Revolutionary War, and he plays an early
I have not
revolutionary.
Seen that. No.
Heath Ledger is in it. I'm pretty sure.
I have not seen that.
It is the cheesiest. I think what happened was Mel Gibson made Braveheart, and maybe someone was helping him make it so it wasn't cheesy. And then The Patriot, it's just like, it's so cheesy. And then he makes What Women Want in the same year.
Oh my God, that was so terrible.
So terrible. Then a couple
It was really cringy. Like, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it was bad 17 years ago. I can't imagine how bad it is now in terms of the sexist.
And it was written by a guy, obviously.
Totally.
Because there's like a 10-minute scene where Helen Hunt is trying not to stare at his crotch. Do you remember that? It's like, oh, I shouldn't look at the crotch. Oh my gosh, but I'm looking at it. Oh, I can't believe I'm looking at it. It's like a 10-minute. I'm like, come on, who wrote this?
God. A couple years later, he makes We Were Soldiers, which is, I guess, maybe his first modern war movie. It's. I think it's a true story where a bunch of Americans died or something. But
okay.
And I remember kind of liking this movie, but also feeling like, again, it's no Saving Private Ryan. I mean, when Saving Private Ryan came in the late 90s, I feel like everything became compared to that.
It set a standard.
Yeah. He was in Signs.
Even for video games, remember? Like, it's like, okay.
Call of Duty.
It's like, geez, yeah.
2004, Passion of the Christ, which is his second major movie that he directed, and very controversial.
Yep.
A couple years later, Apocalypto, which he also directed.
I liked it.
Yeah, I got to rewatch that because I remember
it was intense.
I remember not really realizing what I was watching when I was watching it. I remember watching it just being like, "What am I watching?" You know?
Yeah.
The Beaver. Have you seen The Beaver?
No.
Okay, I like this movie.
Is it?
It
Is
has
it a funny movie?
God, what's her name in it? Anyway, he goes through some kind of traumatic thing, like his wife dies or something bad happens, and there's this beaver, this puppet that he develops a relationship with.
What?
So it's sort of like a dark comedy.
Okay.
And Mel Gibson plays this very mentally, harmed person.
Okay.
And it's like I said, it's sort of a comedy. It's sort of like a warm, feel good movie, but he's interacting with this like imaginary friend that's this old beat up beaver puppet or something. And it's actually I mean, it was the first movie he was in ever where it was like not flattering to play the
Was this
character.
after he had his breakdown or whatever?
I think so. I think he had a big beard in the movie.
Okay.
He was in Machete Kills, Expendables 3, and then
he was the best part of Expendables 3.
Yeah.
He really was. Like he put everyone else to shame. I mean, of course the movie is really silly, right? But in a movie with like all these famous stars, whenever he was on the screen, you were reminded of what acting is. Because everyone else is just doing their lines and stuff like that, right? He comes on the scene like, whoa, well, you actually have a real actor in this movie.
Stars Andrew Garfield, who I believe is nominated.
The Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Oh.
The first movie I remember Andrew Garfield in, I think he's English, Never Let Me Go, which was based on the book, which is a great book. It's one of the few fiction books I've actually read. Andrew Garfield was in The Social Network, and then Spider-Man,
yeah, that's right.
Spider-Man 2, Hacksaw Ridge, and he was in Silence, the Scorsese movie. Have you seen Silence?
No.
I liked Silence, but also disliked it.
Is it about gangs?
No, it's about Japan in like the 1500s.
Oh, I know what it is. I've seen the previews. And they're Jesuits or whatever?
Yeah, I think they're Portuguese.
It reminded
Jesuit
me of
priests.
like The Mission, the movie The Mission, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And the preview didn't do it justice because like maybe I'm so biased against having seen him in Spider-Man and all these other things, but they didn't look right to me. I was like, that doesn't
he
look
sells
right.
it. He does a great job. The fact that he was nominated, I'm pretty sure he's been nominated for Hacksaw Ridge. The fact he wasn't nominated for Silence, but was nominated for Hacksaw Ridge is bizarre to me.
Oh, okay.
Because I feel like anyone could have done Hacksaw Ridge, but what he does in Silence, because it's basically the whole movie is about him. Like the whole...
Oh, he's the main guy.
All 3 hours of that movie centers completely on him, and he has to sell like some pretty kind of odd scenes.
I see.
But anyway, A Hell or High Water. Have you seen this one? Hell or High Water?
No.
Man, it's a great movie. Kind of a surprise that it was even nominated because it wasn't a big smash hit and it came out like 9 months ago. I loved this movie when it came out. 8 out of 10.
What's the general plot
It's modern day. It's in West Texas, and these two brothers are robbing banks.
Okay.
And then these two cops are trying to catch him.
Does it have one of the it's like Thor or one of those brothers?
Chris Pine.
Chris Pine? No, it's not the brother. Okay, the Star Trek guy.
Yeah, Chris Pine.
Okay.
Jeff Bridges. It's a little cheesy at times. Like there's scenes where they're leaning up against a fence post, looking out over the fields of grain, and the sun is setting. You know, there's like these, there's like kind of these cheesy moments, but for the most part, it's not cheesy at all. The story is pretty interesting. I love how it's a very small scale story.
Okay.
It doesn't ever try to get too big. The acting is great. The writing is great. I'm surprised it's nominated though. But of all the Best Picture nominations, I would say that this is probably the most watchable movie. You know, because it's a simple story, it's suspenseful, it's entertaining, and it's basically two buddy movies in one. You got like the two bank robber guys and then the two cops.
Okay.
And they interact a lot. You know what I mean?
I see.
And there's scenes where it's just hilarious. Like the two cops go to this small town diner and interact, and then when they walk in, they're talking, and then the waitress comes over, and the interaction they have with this random waitress who seems like an actual waitress from West Texas, you know, and it's like totally not related to the plot, but it's just this nice little gem.
What was that movie we watched years ago where there was it was a waitress and there was this pie? And
there's a movie called Waitress where she makes pies.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. The girl from Felicity.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good movie.
That was a good movie.
Yeah. 7.7 IMDb, 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. 98.
Wow.
Budget $12 million, the lowest we've seen so far. Box office only $31 million. Directed by David Mackenzie, who's Scottish, who's directed several movies I have not heard or seen of. Written by Taylor Sheridan, who also wrote Sicario.
Wow.
So there's that. Stars Jeff Bridges, who has the same birthday as me. And he's been acting in probably 10 movies a year, but just the highlights. 71, Last Picture Show. That's the first movie in timeline that I know of his. Bad Company. King Kong was a huge movie in the 70s that I probably seen like 10 times, and he's like the lead guy in that King Kong.
Wow.
King Kong. And they're making a new King Kong.
Yeah.
That's
Skull
sort of,
Island or something.
That's similar to that original King Kong. It's not King Kong in, that 76 movie with Jeff Bridges. King Kong isn't just like a tall kind of. King Kong is like some kind of strange, like as big as an island.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was fun.
I don't know how they're going to make the new King Kong movie interesting. I mean, because when you make something that's that big.
No, there's all these like things, dinosaurs coming up from below that they got to fight and stuff like that.
Yeah. He was in Tron, the original 82 Tron. One of my favorite movies of all time. Man, when I saw that movie when I was 11 years old, that I just completely blew my mind. I mean, it was right up my alley. I was like ground zero for coin-op games.
Yep.
And just, man.
We're going to be watching that soon in the theater.
Yeah, we're seeing a double feature of Tron
and Akira go!
Akira.
And we featured, when we were playing in our missionary band, we had some clips of Tron that we would flash in front of people's eyes.
Right. So we wrote songs, Brito and I, for this band, Missionary, and I would pull different movies and clips from them, and I would sync them to the music we were playing so that as we were playing on stage live, the movie would be changing clips exactly to the sound.
It was glorious.
which meant that we had to bring a projector with us, a DVD player. You had to have a remote to like switch to the next song on the DVD player. It was insane.
I had all the sounds for the keyboards, for both keyboards on the laptop. Remember we had like all the little tracks and stuff.
And some keyboards had 2 sounds on it.
2 sounds, and also the sounds for the drums. And we had our drummer played through digital drums.
Right. We had digital drums. But he played actual drum pads.
And he had to play to a click track because we had to be right in sync with that video.
Right. And for you nerds out there that are into this sort of thing, the click track was actually on the DVD. So I would make the video and I would record a click track for that song that we were going to play. So he was exactly synced with the video.
Yeah.
And people would say like, how are you staying synced with the video? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because like some other videos were actually of us playing the song.
And people would be like, wait, were you filming yourself as you're playing, but you're wearing different clothing?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Because usually when you show a video behind, the band, it's just like clips that are randomly just sort of cycling,
Yeah.
But to see it actually like, happening.
Yeah.
And we could have pre-recorded the keyboards and the drums.
Of course,
because no one would have known, but we didn't.
No.
We purposely played everything live, which was actually pretty hard. You can actually listen to the Missionary album on Spotify.
Or Google Music or also the iTunes.
Yeah.
Or the Apple Music, I mean.
Jeff Bridges, Against All Odds, Starman, as we were talking about earlier, Tucker, the Fabulous Baker Boys, which he's in with his brother. It was in Seattle, I think, actually. The Fisher King, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. American Heart, The Vanishing, which is also in Seattle.
That's a good one.
He was the bad guy.
I forgot he was in that. Wow. Yeah. No. Wasn't... I thought Kiefer Sutherland was the bad guy.
Oh, Kiefer Sutherland's the good guy.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
it had, what's her name?
I don't know. Who was the wife?
From American Psycho, the girlfriend Elizabeth, or in the...
Oh, yeah. Wait, are you sure?
Yeah.
I think you're thinking of a different movie.
Am I?
Yeah, where she becomes abducted and then she like... Anyway. Point is,
okay. I'm thinking of the one where she beats up the abductor.
That's different.
Oh, okay. But you know who I'm talking about then.
Yeah.
What's her name? Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, Reese Witherspoon, yeah.
Okay, so who was the actress in this one?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's someone famous, but anyway.
Yeah.
Fearless, which I remember really liking that movie. It's about these people who get in an airplane crash.
Yeah.
And some people survive. And Jeff Bridges like has this existential kind of awakening after that, and he realizes that before the plane crash he was living in fear, and after the plane crash he's just like I have no fear, and it's just like, but he's starting to annoy people in his life and stuff. Anyway, White Squall, The Big Lebowski, of course. K-Pax, which was terrible. Seabiscuit, Iron Man. He was the bad guy in the first Iron Man movie. Crazy Heart, the Men Who Stare at Goats. The next Tron movie, True Grit, R.I.P.D., which I never saw because I got bad reviews, Hell or High Water, and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, which I think is the next Kingsman.
Is that
movie.
coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also stars Chris Pine, which the first movie I saw was in Star Trek, is also in Unstoppable. Rise of the Guardians, he was the voice of Jack Frost, which is an amazing movie. Have you seen Rise of the Guardians?
No, I have not.
There are certain... I love cartoons because...
Is that the one with the owls?
No, you're thinking of the other cartoon, which is actually great. No, Rise of the Guardians is about Jack Frost and Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy.
What?
And they have to fight Jude Law, who plays this like the Sandman, I think, or
oh my gosh.
not the Sandman.
I don't even know this.
It's actually Rise of the Guardians, amazing movie, and because it's a cartoon, no one watches it, but it's actually like action-packed, interesting, really funny,
weird,
totally original. I mean, imagine a movie with Jack Frost, Sandman, the Tooth Fairy, and it all makes sense, and the visuals are amazing.
When did this come out?
2012.
What the hell?
Chris Pine, Horrible Bosses, Into the Woods, Hell or High Water, Star Trek Beyond, and he's in the new Wonder Woman movie, apparently. There's also a movie I'm not finding here that was super funny where he plays this rich guy. The limo driver. I think it was him. Anyway, Ben Foster was also in Hell or High Water. The first movie I remember him from was X-Men. He plays Angel. He plays the guy with the wings.
Wasn't Chris Pine in a Tom Clancy one?
I don't know. Ben Foster, 3:10 to Yuma, which is an amazing movie, except for, I think, the end. Hell or High Water. He was in Warcraft. Did you see Warcraft last year?
No. Oh, wait. I didn't even remember that came out. I remember all the previews and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's okay. I mean, it's like a 5. I think it's like watchable.
And what was he one of the orcs?
I forget actually.
Okay.
And he was Ben Foster last year was in Hell or High Water, Warcraft, and Inferno with Tom Hanks, which got terrible reviews, and I could tell it was a bad movie.
That's the Da Vinci Code follow-up.
Yeah, I guess. And Gil Birmingham was the other cop, and he's in the Twilight movies, and he was also a voice in Rango. All right, let's take a break. When we get back, let's continue with our talk about the best movies.
All right.
All right, we're back. If you haven't told a friend about the podcast, do so. Tell a friend or a colleague. Also, hey, let's do another sticker raffle, Berto.
All right.
Give me a letter and a second letter.
E. D.
Ed. Ed. Do we have an Ed? We have an Edith.
Edith. Okay.
So Edith will get stickers in the mail. Give me another letter.
All right. Let's go in a different direction. N and I.
N-I.
Me.
N-I. I have 3 of them.
Really?
Pick the first one because any of these guys.
Okay, the first one. I rarely pick the first one.
Nia, who I know, Nia, she's one of our $20 a month people.
Whoa.
Give me another letter.
Okay. Let's do W.
W.
Is there a W in the house
There is, and
with an O? Woman.
No,
whoa.
There's no whoa. I can't think of a name that goes whoa.
Woman.
There's a W, A, E, or I.
Okay, let's go with A. Cycle back around.
A?
Yeah,
Walter.
Walter.
Yeah. Walter's another $20 person. So they
Whoa.
So they just okay. So we're gonna send you some swag in the mail, you guys.
Yay.
Thanks for being patrons. We love you so much. All right, next in line, Hidden Figures. Have you seen this one?
No, but I know what it is.
But it's a true story. I gave it 7 out of 10. It's probably aside from Hacksaw Ridge, one of my lowest rated ones.
How much math is there?
There's a lot of math, but they don't describe it very much.
See.
And I kind of
hand wave it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose if you really knew the calculus, you could really kind of see what they're writing and stuff. But it's not hard. It's not easy to see, and they don't play that up very much because
that would make it boring.
Yeah. I liked it. It's worth watching. Again, 7 out of 10. That means I liked it. As I said before, I love history movies, and there wasn't much cheese. I thought there was going to be a lot of cheese, but whoever wrote and directed this, they managed to keep the cheese to a minimum.
Okay.
I liked how they told the story of it's another ambitious movie like Fences. It's like, okay, let's talk about 3 black women who worked at NASA. It wasn't called NASA at the time, but it was the early version of that. Let's make a whole movie just about 3 black women who work at NASA.
Wait, what was it called?
Hidden Figures.
No. If it wasn't NASA, what was it called?
Oh, NACA.
Really?
It was I can't remember the exact, but
Holy.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah. Because it wasn't a space agency originally. It was it was some other kind of agency, but and I think anyway, I won't speculate. I read that it's fairly accurate. I mean, they took some liberties, of course, but the basic story of these women is accurate. But there's some cheese, like the guy who played Neil Armstrong was super annoying. He was like, whenever the Neil Armstrong actor was on stage, I was just cringing because his face, he was like constantly snarky
and annoyed.
He was constantly happy. He was
like,
"Hey, everyone doing?" And he was like always making a joke and always kind of looking at people slyly and stuff. And there's also this scene where Kevin Costner tears down a colored only sign, and because this is like in the South when there was segregation.
Yeah, this is like 50s.
'60s. It's during
because it's during the
during the Mercury missions. But there's this really cheesy scene where Kevin, although it's satisfying when it happens, because Kevin Costner actually he tears down this colored only sign. It's satisfying, but it's super unrealistic and cheesy, and it's just like, you know, I could just see Kevin Costner saying, "I want a scene where I really, you know, strike back at segregation, and I'm the hero of the movie and stuff." And it's just like, had some tear jerky moments, but really the reason why I wouldn't give this higher than 7 is because it was really by the numbers, you know. It's like but it's very it's trying to appeal to middle America, you know what I mean? It's really sort of clean, you know? And but not so clean that it was terrible. Like you could have gone really clean and made it like The Help, which is like totally geared towards a white middle class, you know, audience. And you know, this movie definitely retained some of its real, you know, ugly. It, you know, really showed the ugly America at the time, but not so ugly that white people won't see it. You know what I mean? I see. And there was not a lot of nuance. You know, like a lot of things you wanted to have happen, they happened. You know, it's like, oh, I hope this happens. And they're like, oh, yeah, it happened. But then there are other parts of it where,
like, he's going to get his.
Well, actually, I'll comment on that. Not a lot of that. Like the people who, so, you know, the guy who plays on The Big Bang Theory.
The other astrophysicist or whatever.
Yeah, he plays one of the other mathematicians, you know, and he is racist. But he represents what everyone, and sexist too. There's sexism and racism in this. And you think, oh, eventually he's going to get his, but he never does. And he never even really, I mean, there's a slight nod to maybe he kind of is coming around to like respecting women and black people, but not really. You know what I mean? There's not this moment where he's like, I'm sorry, you know. It felt non-cheesy.
It's like, you can solve my equations anytime.
Yeah. 7.9 IMDb, 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, budgeted for $25 million. Which is pretty cheap when you think about it, and made $129 million. Directed, produced, and written by Theodore Melfi, American guy. I think he's white from his picture. And he hasn't made much, which is pretty crazy because this is a big movie. Yeah. And he hasn't made anything notable up to this point.
Weird.
Yeah. Stars people's names I can't necessarily pronounce, but Taraji Henson, I think. Octavia Spencer, Janelle Monáe, who is a singer. Kevin Costner, Kirsten Dunst, and Jim Parsons. He's the guy from.
Oh, Kirsten Dunst?
Yeah. She plays a racist manager. So the black women start out working as what they call computers. You know, this is before computers, and before there were computers, there were
computers.
There were human computers. Yeah, people who computed. And Kirsten Dunst was like the manager of the computers, and there was an all-black wing to the computers.
Why? Did they say why?
Well, I think it was like there were, because I know from outside of this, they don't say why, but I know from outside of this movie that. From knowledge outside this movie, that there were a lot of jobs that needed to be done in astro, you know, stuff.
I think maybe, like, if you think back to the savannah, and women had to count the number of gazelles that were running by, then maybe that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And and the computing jobs, for whatever reason, were traditionally given to a large group of women. Because computing needed to be done by a lot of people. You know, you think about the calculations involved that a computer does. Well, if you have to give that to people, you have to give it to a large group of people.
Did I read somewhere something about like, oh, the women could keep focused on these kind of?
No, I think it's just it has nothing to do with biology. I know you're trying to get it there, but
I'm not. I thought I had heard someone say that.
I think it's just tradition, you know, like for whatever reason. I think where it comes from is early days in science, the men would be doing the kind of lab stuff, and then what the tedious jobs they would give to women, you know what I mean? Or they'd give to underlings, and then a lot of the underlings happened to be
It just seemed like, and you know, we could certainly debate culture and all that stuff, but it just seemed like growing up, almost to a T, like the majority of boys in my classrooms were not as good at like the things that were like, oh, did you keep your notebook up to date? Did you do all your writing? Did you do all these things? And then a majority of the girls were good at that stuff.
Not even going to touch that one. Next movie, La La Land. 7 out of 10. I gave I know you saw us because we saw it together. What out of 10 would you give La La Land?
Well, okay. I sort of have to rewatch it and just pretend it's just a movie and not as a musical. As a musical, I gave it a 6. As a movie, I'll probably give it an 8, I guess.
An 8, wow. So
7,
you really
5,
liked
8.
It. You really liked it.
Well, if I said 8 for Arrival, then I'm gonna go 8.5 for Arrival, and maybe an 8 for this one.
What'd you like about this movie?
Again, look, what I liked about it is I did like the performances, especially what's her name? What is her name?
What is her name? Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. I liked the style of the movie.
Yeah.
I liked the way it was put together, kind of like transitions, the whimsical feeling of it. I like movies that mix in the realism with the surreality and stuff like that. I like that. And then I definitely liked the audio of it, except some of the songs were muffled and you couldn't hear the voice. But the general like style of the audio, of the music, I liked. What I didn't like was that it was supposed to be a musical, and I didn't find that the songs were all that memorable, and so that kind of bugged me. And I also felt like, as far as the singing and the dancing, it was okay, but it was nothing to write home about. And I know that was sort of their point, like, oh, these are just normal people dancing and singing. But,
Yeah, they chose movie stars who don't really know how to sing or dance.
Yeah.
And coaxed them into singing and dancing, as opposed to the way old musicals were made, and maybe even some other musicals that are made today, by finding people who can do it all, who can act and sing and dance.
It's like you look at Julie Andrews, it's like, oh my God, like such talent,
Yeah. Or, just anyone from back then. I mean,
and it's not like she couldn't act. She was a great actress. It was just that. Oh, and then another thing was the, his movie Whiplash. I loved Whiplash. And I felt that movie, it wasn't a musical, but it had a lot of music to it, right? This one really presented itself as a musical.
Yeah,
like
totally.
everyone gets out of their cars, everyone sings.
The lead people break into song for no reason.
Right. I sort of felt like this movie would have been better for me if he had kept it at an indie movie with great music,
Like
sort of
like they, instead of breaking into song, they like write a song together or something.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it 7 out of 10. In some ways, I liked it more than you. In some ways, I liked it less than you, which sounds like.
Yeah.
I thought it was cute. It's entertaining. It's a little slow in the middle. The ending sequence was amazing.
Yeah.
Like Arrival,
Yeah.
there's this ending last 15 minutes or something where my head was just spinning with like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's not a twist. It's more of just like an artistic decision that the director made or the writer made. And it was the director, the writer, same guy.
Well done. Well done.
Emma Stone, as you said, is amazing in it. Her acting is so good, and it's very convincing. Her character, I really understood her character.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, not so much. I didn't really understand his character that much, and I know everyone loves Ryan Gosling, and he does a pretty good job in this. And people are like, he learned how to play piano just for this movie. I'm like, okay, great. But I kind of feel like Ryan Gosling, he's evolved into the sort of actor who doesn't like to act. He's just really concrete in sometimes. And
The James Dean.
I just feel like Channing Tatum, I think, would have been a much better choice for this role. Because Channing Tatum can dance, one, and two, he probably can sing better. But Channing Tatum acts like when he's in a scene, Channing Tatum is like, he's acting. Ryan Gosling, I get the feeling like he thinks of himself as a subdued actor. Someone who maybe ever since Drive came out or something, he's just like, I'm stone cold Ryan Gosling.
Well, wasn't he the same in The Notebook though?
Well, I never saw The Notebook, but I recently watched the Believer, which came out in 2001, and it was the movie just before The Notebook for the most part, and he's like 20 years old at the time. And in The Believer, he plays this neo-Nazi. And he is acting up a storm in that movie. Okay. And he's amazing.
Okay.
So it's like at some point he kind of lost his way and became like really just like, I don't know what. It's sort of like when what's his face from The Godfather, Al Pacino, his early work, you're just like, man, he's a really good actor. He's like subtle, he's like intense. Yeah. And then at a certain point, he's like, oh yeah, he's like, he became, every role he was in, he became this bombastic.
What?
This annoying, like at a certain point, I think actors fall in love with a new form or something, or maybe they've been waiting all this time to become that or something. And I feel like Ryan Gosling is in that category. Now, everyone loves him in this movie, which is great. But while I was watching it, I was just kind of like, please act more. Like, like do more things with your face,
I can see what you mean. There was also the criticism, which I didn't even realize as I was watching it, but I heard some people criticize it because it was about jazz and there were not enough prominent black actors in the movie.
Yeah, I hear that. But at the same time, it's like there were black people in the movie. There were black musicians in the movie. Yeah. And I don't know.
For me, I didn't even think of that. It didn't really bother me.
Because it wasn't about black people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
If like, for instance, Aloha, which Emma Stone was in, she's supposedly playing a part Asian person. Emma Stone is playing someone like me. I'm half Japanese.
Yeah.
Hawaii is filled with people who look just like me.
Yeah.
All these different mixtures of Asia and Europe. And then Emma Stone, because Aloha is made in Hawaii, they need to find someone and they hire the most whitest actor. She's so white, she's red. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, so those criticisms I see, but in this movie, it's about two white people and one guy happens to like jazz. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no, I hear that. The thing that bothered me more was the songs, because the style of jazz that he was talking about was like that traditional, like old school jazz.
Yeah, bop jazz.
But the actual songs, the way they came out was a lot more pop, like modern, jazz influenced. So that was also kind of a missed opportunity, because if you wanted to go down that route, because like for example in Whiplash,
that was full jazz.
Yeah. And I love that soundtrack, but anyways, that was
like that song he kept trying to write. That song that riff he kept playing.
Right.
It ended up coming out. I was like, oh, this is going to be an amazing jazz song.
Yeah,
but it was like not.
It was just
jazz.
that melody over a few times, and then a little.
Yeah. But whatever. When I first saw it and we were driving away, you were just like, okay, Kirk, try to remember one of those songs. Did any of just sing one of the songs? And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. Like none of them are really sticking out to me.
Is that how I sound?
And so when I started hearing the songs, like, subsequently, some of them are starting to actually kind of grow on me. Okay. I still couldn't necessarily sing one of them.
I mean, like the one that I think won the Golden Globes is the City of Lights.
Yeah, City of Lights.
City of Lights.
Yeah.
I'm falling asleep singing this song.
Yeah. And so, there's some good numbers,
City of Lights.
Yeah. You could absolutely take umbrage with the style of singing, because you have two non-singers.
And she was better than he was.
But she's not great.
She's not great.
She's no like Broadway singer, you know. And so it's easier when you're not a good singer, as you and I know, you can resort to breathy singing, which sort of masks the fact that you can't really belt it out.
Right.
And so that was kind of annoying. But you're right. And so I also Like I watched Guys and Dolls because I'm going to do an episode on Marlon Brando pretty soon.
Okay.
And when Marlon Brando sings in Guys and Dolls, it's very kind of that way.
I see.
It's just like very breathy.
Yeah.
But it's so funny to hear his voice. Anyway.
I can't even imagine it.
But I also think that it's sort of a hipster way of singing now. Like I don't think it's cool anymore to sing real big. And so I think like it was trying to play to that audience as well, The premise seemed a little silly, but the story arc seemed a little silly. It's like, why did they break up? It's like, I don't really understand this.
Well, that was the other thing that bugged me a bit, was that if I had just watched this movie and I never talked to anyone or saw any reactions online, I feel like I would have felt more positive. It's just that as soon as I started seeing all the reactions and people were like, oh my God, my life has changed and all these things. And then I started actually asking myself, like, wait, what was the plot? What was the theme? And it was such a superficial plot that I was like, well, okay, I guess maybe I'm just not relating to the whole struggling actor in Hollywood and how dramatic that must be.
Yeah, particularly his character, I really just didn't understand what motivated him, particularly when they had their big fight.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going through his head right now?
Right.
To me, it was almost like, they're revealing this guy's an asshole. Like they just, I was sort of with him, and then I was like, with this scene, I now hate him because of what he just said.
And then, but there's another way to look at that, which I saw a video of a gal reviewing the movie and she hated it. I didn't hate it. She hated it. And she was actually saying like that Emma Stone's character is a horrible person. And then she had all these reasons and she listed out, and she was kind of pointing out to that fight about how he had flown in.
Don't spoil. By
oh yeah, okay. Well, anyways, he had gone out of his way in a big way to kind of see her and stuff like that, and she then drew a very hard line on what she wasn't willing to do.
Yeah.
Which was in comparison actually less. So it was stuff like that where if you look at it from that angle, it's like, wow, she was so uncompromising. And then also
they both were.
Right. But then when like you got the sense at one point that, again, without spoiling, that their relationship might have had a future if both had been patient,
Yeah.
I guess I did just spoil.
Yeah. 8.5 IMDb, 93% on Rotten Tomatoes. Budget $30 million, which seems pretty cheap.
I don't know if you want to take out that spoil because I sort of
no,
spoiled.
I don't think you spoiled that.
Okay.
Box office $269 million. So probably the most profitable movie we've talked about so far. Directed by Damien Chazelle. Chazelle? Is that how you pronounce it?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
Born in Providence, Rhode Island. His mother is a writer and professor of history at the College of New Jersey. Father is a French-American professor of computer science at Princeton. So both of his parents are professors.
Oh.
In Damien, in 2013, he wrote The Last Exorcism Part 2, and then he very quickly came on the scene in 2014 with Whiplash, which he wrote and directed. 2016, he wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane, which you haven't seen yet, have you?
I have. I love 10
it's
Cloverfield
amazing
Lane.
that he wrote 10 Cloverfield
Yeah.
Lane. That's amazing. And then La La Land. So he is definitely up and coming.
Because that one, I originally thought it was just like a weird sequel to Cloverfield, right?
But it's not.
It's not. It was amazing. There might be a subterranean connection to it, but
yeah, it could totally be connected, but it
was amazing.
Yeah, the writing and directing and the acting.
It blew me away. And John Goodman was amazing.
Jeez, yeah, God. Stars Ryan Gosling, who started out in the Mickey Mouse Club. He was in Remember the Titans, The Believer that I talked about earlier, which is a pretty rough movie, but interesting to see him act in that. The Notebook, which I have not seen. Half Nelson, that's the first movie I really remember him from, Half Nelson. I think he plays an addict teacher in that movie.
Oh.
Lars and the Real Girl, have you seen this movie?
No, I don't think
Ryan
so.
Gosling falls in love with a love doll.
Oh, I think you told me about this. I haven't seen it.
Blue Valentine, which is amazing. Have you seen that, Blue Valentine?
No.
Great movie. Very hard to watch. Michelle Williams. Crazy Stupid Love. I think that's the movie where he shows his abs to what's her face. Drive, which you loved, I did not like. I liked scenes, but the story was completely stupid and like just absurd. I mean, have you rewatched that movie?
I have not. I've only seen it once.
You need to rewatch that and like really just watch that movie.
All right.
There are some comically stupid scenes.
Okay,
when he
I'll
puts on that
rewatch it.
mask, it is so dumb. Oh my God.
I gotta rewatch it, I guess. But I mean, a lot of people like that movie.
I think they liked it because at the time it was like a really good mix of 80s paraphernalia, essentially, and style. You know, it had a great style at times to it.
It does have a good style. But I mean, I watched it on video at home by myself.
I challenge you to watch it and like it, honestly. It
is slow.
I like slow movies. Slow's fine. It's just there's so many things wrong with that movie. Anyway, The Place Beyond the Pines, which I've talked about before, amazing movie. The Big Short, Brian Gosling was in. Nice Guys, great movie last year. That should have been nominated. La La Land, and he's going to be in Blade Runner. He's going to be the lead in the new Blade Runner. Emma Stone, first movie I remember her from was Superbad. Then she was in Zombieland.
I loved Superbad. I loved her in it.
Yeah, she's great. Zombieland, Easy A.
And Zombieland, that was good.
Easy A is a great movie.
Yeah.
Friends with Benefits, Crazy Stupid Love, The Help, which she's pretty good in, but it's not a good movie. The Amazing Spider-Man, The Croods, which is another great cartoon that you probably haven't seen.
I have not.
She plays the main girl. Birdman, Aloha, Pop Star, La La Land, and she's going to play Billie Jean King in Battle of the Sexes.
Really?
This year. So, and for those of you that are familiar with the Battle of the Sexes in the 70s with Billie Jean King, I can't wait for this movie.
Wow.
I can't wait for this movie. I think it's going to be really great. Music by Justin Hurwitz. Only 3 movies and he's made all 3 movies with Damien Chazelle. All right, let's talk about the last couple here. But before that, let's take a break. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. The next movie here is Lion. Did you see Lion?
I know what it is.
What do you know of it? Because it's all in the preview. I mean,
I have a friend that works at Google on Google Earth.
Oh, yeah.
And was a consultant for this movie.
Right. Have you seen the previews for this movie?
I have, and I know the plot and stuff like that.
What's the plot?
So like little 5-year-old, I think he is, Indian boy, he accidentally gets on a train and I think falls asleep or whatever, and wakes up hundreds of miles away in a strange part of the country. He's not even aware where he is.
It's actually different. He goes from India to Bangladesh.
Oh, okay. And then
he can't even speak the language.
Okay. And so he's totally lost. And so he can't get home. He's just, how does a 5-year-old get home, right? And so he gets adopted. Eventually, after I'm sure a lot of struggles and things, gets adopted. And then years and years later, when he's much older, he decides to try to find his
in Australia as an adopted.
Okay. And then he tries to find his original home, and he uses Google Earth to try to figure out all these landmarks that he sort of remembered. And then I'm sure it's very dramatic.
Yeah. This was by far the worst of the movies that are in the Best Picture.
Oh, really?
For me. Now, people love this. It got 88% Rotten Tomatoes. People are texting me saying, "Oh, have you seen Lion? You got to see Lion." And I'm like not responding because I gave it a 5 out of 10. I actually want to give it more. So the first 30 minutes. So this is a true story as well. The first 30 minutes is about that 5-year-old boy. Mm-hmm. And that is super effing intense stuff. Okay. I mean, it looks real, and it's based on a real story. And the way, I mean, they're in India, in Bangladesh. Right. It's like that other movie that this guy was in.
The Millionaire?
Yeah, Slumdog Millionaire. Remember those scenes where they're running through the slums of India, and you're just like, oh my God, that's what it's like, And so in Lion, it's the same thing. That for the first half, when they're following the 5-year-old around, because it's not just him; it's him and his brother.
Oh, is it the same actor from Slumdog?
Yeah, who plays the
older
him as he.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, Dev Patel, I think his name. It's amazing. It's just this landscape of like drama, and this 5-year-old kid. He's so cute and he's so scrappy, and the tensions that build, and he escapes from this thing and he scraps together this thing and this other person, and then all of a sudden he interacts with like this middle class guy, like sees him as like tries to help him, and they try to take him to the government, and he doesn't even know where he's from. He's just 5, and he, what's your mom's name? He's like, Mom, I don't know her name. You know what I mean? So it's just like this tragedy one after another. And so I would give the first half like a 7.
Yeah.
Very watchable, very compelling, interesting. The next, I don't know, 2 hours is just like, I don't know how long, but however long it felt like 2 hours it's so predictable. It's drawn out. You could tell they took like half an hour or 40 minutes of a movie and tried to stretch it, because, it's a real story. So what can you say about it? And there's some sort of side plots that seem kind of weirdly forced into the story. And it's just, so the second half of the movie, I'd give a 3.
Oh, wow.
But then the last 5 minutes,
the last 5
minutes are interesting, I'll say. The last 5 minutes. So I never fall asleep in movies, and I fell asleep in this movie.
Oh, wow.
About midway through, I was like, my eyes were just like totally.
Man. I'm not going to be able to watch it then.
Yeah. Well, watch the first half an hour. It's gripping film. Budgeted $12 million, box office $57 million, directed by Garth Davis, Australian director. This is his first feature film.
Okay.
It's written by Luke Davies, again, his first feature film. It's based on a book by the guy who's in the movie called Saru Brierley. Dev Patel stars in it, Slumdog Millionaire, Last Airbender, The Best Exotic, Marigold Hotel, which was cute but extremely annoying, and then the sequel. He was in Chappie. Did you ever see Chappie?
Is The Last Airbender that terrible Shyamalan movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you ever see Chappie?
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked it.
No, you didn't.
I thought the ending was completely silly.
You
but
didn't like Chappie.
I did like Chappie.
No, man, that was a mess.
Rooney Mara, who's been in a bunch of stuff. The Dragon Tattoo, pretty sure she was in that. David Wenham, who's from The Lord of the Rings and 300. You remember 300, the movie?
Yeah.
He's the narrator, the guy.
Okay. The guy with the bandage.
Yeah. Nicole Kidman. Let's go through her.
What? She's in this?
Yeah. I think she gets nominated.
I love Nicole Kidman.
Which is kind of weird because she's barely in this movie.
Okay.
But anyway, Dead Calm, Days of Thunder.
Dead Calm with what's his name? From Titanic and from Tombstone.
Zane, Billy
Zane. Billy Zane.
Days of Thunder, that must be where she met, what's his face?
By the way, did you know Billy Zane was in Back to the Future?
No, yeah, he was one of the bad guys.
One of the bad guys. In Back to the Future 2?
Oh, anyway.
Yeah.
Billy Bathgate, I remember really liking that movie. I want to rewatch that one. Far and Away, that was her breakout, her outbreak role. Malice.
Did I tell you, I went to see Far and Away in the theater with my girlfriend at the time in high school.
Yeah.
And she came from an Irish family.
Yeah.
But she didn't speak Irish or anything. But as we were watching the movie, when the movie was over, she's like speaking with an Irish accent. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I've regained my Irish accent." I can't even do it. But she's like, "I regained my Irish." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Batman Forever, To Die For, Eyes Wide Shut, Moulin Rouge, The Others, The Hours, Cold Mountain, great movie. Stepford Wives, Australia. Have you seen Australia?
No.
It's pretty good. And Lion, and a bunch of other movies that she's been in. All right, next movie, Manchester by the Sea. Have you seen that one?
No. Darn it.
Pretty good one. I would be happy if this one won Best Picture. I gave it 8 out of 10.
Was it directed by Ben or?
It was directed by Kenneth Lonergan.
Oh, okay.
Who born in the Bronx. He has a psychiatrist mother and a physician father. He wrote Analyze This, which I rewatched it recently. Really thought it was great. But his first writing movie was You Can Count on Me, and I actually show that it's similar to Manchester by the Sea, and I show that movie or clips from it in class because it's a brother sister who are grieving and sort of like in their roles. He wrote Analyze That. He wrote Gangs of New York.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and he wrote and directed Manchester by the Sea. I gave it 8 out of 10. I really liked it. It's never cheesy. It's very subdued. The grief was very accurate in that it's not clean. Essentially the entire movie is all about grief. It's about this uncle and nephew who are grieving.
Okay.
And they're grieving different things, and it's pretty good. But I could totally see how people would hate this movie because it's very slow.
I see.
Like there's no plot.
Okay.
There's no action. The lead guy, really everyone in the movie, Casey Affleck, and really others, they're not very likable.
Okay.
They're not. You don't hate them, but you don't really like them. So
now, does it take place in Manchester, or is that just a name? And
yeah, I think Manchester and Maine, or
wait, but Manchester, England?
No, it's in the States.
Oh, okay.
They're in New England.
I see.
And the writer director, is the same guy, Kenneth Lonergan, wrote direct this. He had such restraint with this movie because you could have made it, melodramatic.
Yeah.
And you also could have essentially, I mean, this is kind of a spoiler, but the main character, Casey Affleck, he doesn't transform. There's no breakdown moment. There's no like he realizes something moment.
Right.
There's no like riding off in the sunset in any way, shape, or I mean, I was thinking about this movie and I was like, he's basically the same at the end as he is at the beginning. Like there's, that's storytelling 101 is you have to have
that's a hard movie to tell.
Yeah, you have to have the hero transformed.
Yeah.
They have to be different at the end, in some way. And he is kind of, but you could argue he's not.
Yeah.
And so I could totally and I think some people hate this movie, and I could totally see that, but I loved it. 96% Rotten Tomatoes, budgeted only $8 million, made $53 million. Again, Kenneth Lonergan. Matt Damon helped produce this. Casey Affleck, Michelle Williams, who's amazing in it, and Lucas Hedges plays the boy. All right, we got to wrap this up. But Moonlight. Have you seen Moonlight? You haven't seen Moonlight.
Is it? Oh, that's the last one, Moonlight?
Yeah, Moonlight's the last one.
Oh, no.
This one is, as I said before, in my top 6 movies of 2016. I gave it 9 out of 10.
This is in Africa or something?
No, it's the United States about.
But it's a black guy.
Yeah, it's Boyhood. You liked Boyhood. You love Boyhood.
I love Boyhood.
Moonlight is like Boyhood. It's about it's about this guy as a kid. For the first third of the movie is about him as like he's like 8 or 9, and then the middle third is him in high school.
Okay,
and then the last third is him when he's like 30 or something.
Were there no movies in discussion that took place in Africa?
No.
What the hell am I thinking then?
So it's like Boyhood. As I was watching, I was like, oh, this is kind of like the African American Boyhood.
Okay.
It's very subdued. It's very real. Even though there are drug dealers involved.
But it's different actors. It's not the same thing where they follow the same kid. Yeah.
And in that way, they actually chose actors that don't even really look like each other, which I liked, because it's like, you don't have to choose. We can suspend our disbelief.
Sure.
There's not guns, or I don't think there's any sensational violence or sex or anything. But the main thing about this movie, and I've talked about this in the podcast before, is I felt the neurons in my brain changing regarding masculinity while I was watching this movie.
Oh, interesting.
That the way that they walk you through masculinity as, in a sense also at the African American masculine tradition, I could just feel myself going along with this story, and I was personally transformed by this movie.
Oh.
Like Arrival, I loved, top 6 movies of 2016, but I wasn't transformed. Moonlight, I was entertained and transformed. And almost kind of learned something about like what it would like to be like this. And they also didn't get bogged down in politics. I mean, this movie has a ton of topics that are political, particularly right now, but it never got bogged down in that. It kept it focused on the story. You know how like in Boyhood, there'd be these moments where like, oh, are we dipping into like a political thing here? Yeah. And it just wouldn't. You know, it would just like, no, I'm not going to go there. You know, I'm not going to go down the typical storytelling road here. And like, you know,
I think that's one of the reasons so many people didn't like Boyhood.
Right.
Is because it was like, wait, what about that thing you were going to tell me about?
Right. Which is why I could see people hating this movie too.
I see.
Like I could see the average person going,
okay. But if I liked Boyhood, I might very well like this movie.
I hope you like it. Okay. It got 98% on Moonlight, which I think is our highest, or on Rotten Tomatoes. Budgeted at only $5 million, has made almost $20 million. Directed and written by Barry Jenkins, who's an African-American guy, 37 years old. He's only made one other movie, and that was almost 10 years ago. Produced by a few people who made a bunch, who's pretty successful directors, pretty successful producers. Lately, they directed the OA.
Oh, right.
Have you seen the OA?
The first episode.
We need to do an episode on it. You need to watch that whole thing.
There's too many things I need to watch.
The OA, I binge watched that in one night. I started watching it at like 8 and then couldn't stop watching and finished it at like 3 a.m. Because it's that kind of, it's like Lost, where it's just like you have to know. And I think binge watching it in that way makes it better too, because it's such a weird story.
Without obviously revealing anything, does season 1 end an arc, or does it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a full, like, in fact, I saw on the internet that they've okayed a second season of the OA, and I'm kind of worried about that.
I see.
I kind of hope they do a whole other storyline, because I feel like if they continue the story, it'll kind of ruin it.
I see. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So it's like 7 episodes or something. It's doable, you know?
Yeah.
But just it's amazingly written. It's amazingly made. The music is great. Like everything's great. Anyway, Moonlight stars again Janelle Monáe, who was also in Hidden Figures. Naomi Harris, who was in Spectre, Collateral Beauty, Skyfall, Pirates of the Caribbean, Miami Vice, 28 Days Later.
So Collateral Beauty was horrible, right?
Yes, from what I understand. I didn't watch it. I thought it was going to be amazing.
I thought so too.
But then I saw the reviews and it got like, I don't know, 10% on Rotten Tomatoes. Mahershala Ali, who I remember from House of Cards. Did you ever watch House of Cards?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the?
Wait, not the British version.
No. There's a British version?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Do you remember the black guy who's like the advisor for, so
Remy Denton?
Yeah, Remy. Right.
Yeah.
So that's Mahershala Ali. He's in this movie. He was also in Hidden Figures, by the way.
Okay.
He was in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, The Place Beyond the Pines, Berto. Watch that movie. He was in The Hunger Games and Moonlight Hidden Figures. So we have, again, to review, Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. I hope that Moonlight wins.
Yeah.
I really hope that La La Land does not win. It won all the Golden Globes. It has the record for the most Golden Globes ever of all time.
I think it's going to win, dude.
What did I say after I saw it? I go,
you're right.
This is going to win an Oscar because it's like right up the Oscars alley, because it's in
about
LA.
them.
It's in LA. It's about making, movies and stuff. It's about like that whole thing. And it has Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, and it has all the glitz and the glamour of like your wonderful, and it's La La Land. It's like and so I was like, this is going to win Oscar, but I think because it won so many Golden Globes,
interesting.
There's going to be a backlash. Because no one likes to be like typical, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
plus Moonlight might have like also like Moonlight might just be a better movie.
I think it is.
I mean, what I mean by that is they may come to the conclusion it's like, oh no, even though La La Land is so great and blah blah blah, Moonlight is still better. So let's give it the Oscar.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I can also see Hidden Figures winning, honestly, but I kind of hope that one doesn't win. People are saying Lion might win, and I'm like, no, please God. Manchester by the Sea. Early on, Manchester by the Sea was the front runner.
Yeah,
but I feel like I don't know.
So Arrival's not going to win.
I don't think so. Yeah. It's too sci-fi.
I mean, it's pretty much going to be La La Land unless they get an upset from Moonlight or Hidden Figures.
But I could even see Fences winning too. So the things I think you can cross off the list are Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, and Hell or High Water. And maybe even Lion too, because Lion, it's not big enough.
Yeah.
So Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Lion, definitely not going to win in my book.
So it's La La Land, Hidden Figures, Moonlight, or Fences.
Or Manchester by the Sea. And so...
it's not going to be Manchester by the Sea.
Yeah. I'm hoping for Moonlight, but I'm going to take a guess and say La La Land, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like too much momentum.
Yeah. And, it's so glossy.
And everyone you talk to, it's the best thing since sliced bread.
Yeah. So, Best Director, we have the director from Arrival, director from Hacksaw Ridge, director from La La Land, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight.
Yeah.
I would like the director... I mean, the director of Moonlight, I think, deserves it. But honestly, I think Manchester by the Sea, that director... The way that he directed this, I mean, they'd always do Best Picture and Best Director. They always win hand in hand.
Do they really?
Almost always. But to me, it's like they shouldn't because it's a different criteria.
I seem to remember when Spielberg's the director, it doesn't happen.
But because to me, it's like you can have a movie that isn't necessarily the best movie, but the directing is like amazing because you can really see the director in the movie. And of course, Mel Gibson isn't going to win Best Director. I don't think Arrival's going to win. I could see La La Land winning that, Manchester by the Sea or Moonlight. I kind of hope Manchester by the Sea. So I hope Moonlight wins Best Picture. I hope Manchester by the Sea wins Best Director.
Yeah.
Best Actor, you have Casey Affleck, Andrew Garfield for Hacksaw Ridge, Ryan Gosling, Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic. Have you seen this movie?
No.
You would probably like this. It's interesting. I mean, I'm not spoiling it by saying it's about this guy who takes his family, his like 4 kids, into the woods. It's modern day,
right?
And raises them off the land in the woods,
right?
But he's super smart, and his political views are very well thought out, and he hates society.
I see.
And he homeschools his kids, but he also has to be very strict because there's anyway.
Okay, so I'll check that out.
It's interesting.
Captain Fantastic.
And then Denzel Washington for Fences. I guarantee you Best Actor is going to go Denzel, and it should. I mean,
Denzel, he's going to get it?
He won the Golden Globe, I think, and I think he won the SAG Award too. But
good.
Casey
Had he ever won an Oscar?
Yeah. I think he won for Glory, actually.
Oh, that would be. Yeah.
But Casey Affleck did a great job, Manchester by the Sea. But the acting performance, I wouldn't say was that hard because Casey Affleck in Manchester by the Sea is very subdued. He's just playing it almost seems like he's playing him. Do you know what I mean? Andrew Garfield and Hacksaw Ridge, whatever. Ryan Gosling and La La Land, I mean, whatever. Viggo Mortensen and Captain Fantastic did a pretty good job because that's pretty complicated. But Denzel Washington and Fences
killed it. So he's going to get it.
I mean, it is just like beyond this performance. Okay. I mean, you could almost say Denzel's performance in Fences is the best acting performance of all time.
Oh,
I mean, it is like...
oh, boy.
It's incredible.
We need to feed you some sedatives.
It is incredible. Okay, Best Actress...
Emma
from Elle, which I haven't seen.
I mean, Emma's gonna get it, right?
Ruth Negga from Loving. Have you seen Loving?
No.
It's interesting. It's a true story about segregation and what do they call it? Miscegenation. I should know this because my parents are different races and got married. But anyway, it's a true story about Mr. and Mrs. Loving, who were black and white, and they got married in Virginia and were, they all went to the Supreme Court. But it is so subdued, this movie. Like, there's so many moments, like in Hidden Figures, where you really like have this like upwelling of music, and it's like, yes, we won, But in Loving, it's just like everything is super played down. But I really like that. Natalie Portman and Jackie, which I haven't seen, but which I heard is pretty good. Emma Stone for Best Actress, and Meryl Streep and Florence Foster Jenkins, which I also heard is good, but I haven't seen. So you think Emma's going to win Best Actress?
Yeah, I think so.
I wouldn't mind her winning. I don't want La La Land to win anything else, but I would not mind Emma Stone winning for Best Actress because she did a great job acting in this. And it is kind of a hard gig to act in this movie because she had to sing and dance, and so I could see that. Best Supporting Actor. I'm not going to go into those too much. Original screenplay, we got Hell or High Water, La La Land, The Lobster. Have you seen The Lobster?
I have to watch it. No.
It is. I didn't like it so much. I liked the beginning because the beginning is just like, what is happening here? And it's very surreal, but also kind of understandable. Like, it's not so wacky you don't understand. But it's actually kind of like Black Mirror. It's kind of like a Black Mirror episode. So that got, for whatever reason, nominated for Best Original Screenplay.
When I saw the preview, I thought it was just a parody, like a joke.
Yeah, it feels that way. I've heard people talk about this movie and say that they were just rolling on the ground with laughter the entire movie. I cannot imagine that.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny in a way, but not like that funny.
Okay.
Manchester by the Sea and 20th Century Woman, which I haven't seen. I've heard 20th Century Woman is great. Best Original Screenplay, that's a hard one. Lobster obviously will not win. I doubt 20th Century Women will, based on the reviews. I could almost see even Hell or High Water winning this one. Obviously, La La Land could win. Manchester by the Sea, I could see that one winning too. Best Adapted Screenplay: Arrival, Fences, Hidden Figures,
Arrival,
and Moonlight. You think so?
They got to give it something.
Fences could absolutely win this one.
No, but that's easier to adapt.
True. But it's an amazing
copy paste.
It's an amazing. It is a screenplay. Hidden Figures, I could see. I don't know. Lion. No, I hope that one doesn't win. I feel bad because Lion, to some people, it's just like they loved that movie. So I'm sure I'm not making any friends. Best Cartoon: Kubo and the Two Strings. You see that one?
Nope. But I own it.
It's pretty good. Moana, which you and I saw.
I love Moana.
My Life is a Zucchini, which I haven't seen. The Red Turtle, I haven't seen. Zootopia, have you seen Zootopia?
I have.
It's pretty good, right?
It's good.
I actually really like Zootopia.
I've seen it 3 times, maybe.
Yeah, I think I've seen it twice.
And it's good. But to me, Moana.
Really?
You know why? Best female heroine, at least in a long time, if not ever, in a cartoon.
Yeah.
And also, the story wasn't like one of these Frozen stories that are so silly and linear. Right. And the music was awesome.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. And I teared up in part of it.
Yeah. I cry in every movie, so that's not really a good measure. But, Kubo and the Two Strings, I'd be curious what you thought of that because it's pretty interesting. It's an artistic original, and the story is kind of original too. Curious what you'd think about that. Best Documentary: Fire at Sea, I haven't seen. I Am Not Your Negro, which I am gonna see very soon. Life Animated, I haven't seen. OJ Made in America, amazing, and 13th. OJ Made in America was so good. I just really hope that wins. There's got to be a one. What's the one with that rogue Star Wars was visual effects. So we have Deepwater Horizon, which I haven't seen, which I heard is pretty good. Doctor Strange, very good. Have you seen Doctor Strange?
Remember, I tried to watch it with you and I fell asleep.
Oh yeah.
Then I tried to go again by myself and I fell asleep.
Again?
I was sleepy.
You fell asleep in the theater twice? Watching Doctor Strange?
And the worst part is, I think the second time I fell asleep for even longer.
That is crazy. Jungle Book. Did you know they're making a new Jungle Book movie, like with big stars in a couple years?
Wait, didn't they just They just made one that I liked.
Yeah. They're making another one in a couple years with like Christian Bale, I think. And there's like huge, it's going to be even
but they
bigger.
just made, are you sure it's Jungle Book?
Yeah.
But they just made a Jungle Book.
I have to look it up, but I think that's what I read. Anyway.
That's crazy.
Kubo's two strings and Rogue One. Doctor Strange had amazing visual effects.
It did.
But you got to go Rogue One, man. Like
Rogue One.
I mean, it's so weird. Like, that was an amazing movie. It's in my top 6. I mean, of course, again, when I talk to people, there's various different reactions. You have your nerds like you and me that are just like, oh my God, that was amazing. But I could also see how other people would be like, whatever.
Look, it is linear and sort of a one shot. Like I've seen it 3 times.
Yeah.
And although it is entertaining, it doesn't have the staying power story wise that, some of the better movies in that series have. But it was really well done and visually very good. And almost the Darth Vader attack scene at the end is almost enough to just...
it's hard for me to rate movies now because I think about it too much. Like when we walked out of the theater, because we saw it opening night.
Yeah.
And we were all riled up and we had our Star Wars shirts on and everything. I was giving it a 10 out of 10. I felt like it was better than episode 7.
Right.
So if I just go off that high that I felt, I would say 10 out of 10, one of the best movies of all time. Right. But I rewatched it and I was like, oh, this is not one of the best movies of all time.
Right.
Like I was like, yeah, it's fun. It's a good Star Wars movie, but it's not all that.
I mean, look, I walked out of episode 1 feeling that I had seen a great movie.
Yeah.
And it took me a week and seeing it at least one more time, if not 2 more times, to start coming around to being like, oh, wait, okay, maybe this wasn't a great movie.
Right. I sort of feel like there has to be some kind of like measure of that, because like there are some movies that I see in the movie theater that I'm just like, oh my God, that was amazing. But I know if I saw it at home on a crappy TV, I would have been like, yeah, that was okay.
Right.
So.
And then there's some movies that are slow burns. Like you watch it, you're like, okay, and then you'll remember, you watch it again, you're like, whoa, this is actually really good.
Right.
It's not as common, but like for example, for me, there's some of the Scorsese movies are like that for me. Yeah. Like where I watch them and I'm like, okay, obviously epic, but then it like sticks with me, and then I want to watch it again. I'm like, whoa, actually, there's a lot here.
Yeah.
And anyways, yeah.
I wish that Nocturnal Animals was...
You mentioned that. I didn't see that either. I mean, here's the problem. Like, I really don't see anything these days.
Apparently.
Yeah, but it's not because I don't want to. I just don't have the time.
This year, I made a special effort to see all of them. Like, this is the first year I've seen all the Best Picture nominations. Last year, I didn't see one of them, and before that, I was usually like you.
Yeah.
But this year, I'm like, I want to see all of them before the Oscars.
Right.
I have an Oscar party.
Yeah.
You come to that. I want to talk about on the podcast.
Right.
And so
maybe next year's my year.
So like I made a list. I had to like say, okay, I better see this movie. I better see this movie. I better see this movie. And anyway, all right. Well, what's the final word, Burrow?
City of Lights.
Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining us out there. Please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.